And we really are back. It was close there. Good timing. Good afternoon. It is Friday, and of course, we're back. Two Revs on Philosophy, here to brighten your Friday afternoon, to bring an end to your week. Welcome, 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 one and all. And of course, hello, Tony. How you doing, fella?
All right, matey. All right. Just noticed again, we still have an issue with the merging of comments.
Yes.
So that's why I ran to get a
Grabbed
cable to keep my phone charged so I could keep up with the comments on my bit. But yes, lovely to be back. Lovely to see everybody after a 2-week break.
Yes, which we've decided to call, we were just discussing, we've decided to call it a season break. Hence, new starting video. Yes, it has been noted. New starting video. Thought we'd have a bit of a change.
Yes, and Mr. Holden said, love the new intro, Nick. Jason.
Fantastic.
Suzanne Symes, hello, nice to see you back again. Been a while. So, yes, lots of comments.
Fabulous.
Lots of comments. So we'll have to go through and say the hellos in a moment. How have you been over the last 2 weeks, sir?
Busy, frantic, mental, all of the usual, all of the above. Nothing really changes, and yet it always stays the same. Lots going on, lots to do, lots of people to see, doing circles, demonstration. Obviously, the Monday show with the lovely Glenda, my second wife, of spiritual variety anyway. So yeah, busy. Can't complain. And of course, it's already been noted, you've changed your hair.
Yes. Very disappointed in it, but it's I loved it originally, but no, it's been good. It's been good, and it's been an interesting break. Interesting break. So
absolutely,
but it's wonderful to be back with you, lovely people. It is. Yeah, I can't wait to see where this conversation goes.
Excellent. Yeah, let's just jump straight to that before we say hello to everybody. Can I ask a question, please? A group of elephants is called a herd. A group of fish, I believe, is called the school or shoal. Same difference. What is a group of mediums called? Is there a punchline coming, Mr. Tim?
I'm waiting.
We are waited with bated breath. I don't know whether you'd use the same. There is a term to describe a group of priests, which is a phalanx. There's some really great comments coming already, though, from everybody else.
Yeah, and I misread Daryl's.
So, yes, I'm sure you did. Slimming World, a gabble or a gable. I'm sure that's a gabble. But yes, when it comes to priests of the Catholic variety, they use the term phalanx, which I'm not overly keen on, I'm sure. But
no, I don't want to be part of a phalanx.
No, it's a bit too harsh and moody broody. But if there is a gag coming with that, Tim, I look forward to the punchline. If it's a genuine question, I think circle would be good. I think a circle would be good because it covers the basis of development as well as growth, but reminds us we're always learning. It shows us that everybody's equal and united in that development and growth.
And interestingly, did you read a very interesting article about King Arthur and the Round Table and why it was round, so nobody was at the head?
Correct. Yes, that was at the no gag. Serious question. A discourse. I like that.
Oh, I like a discourse.
Yes. Right. I think we can all decide ourselves what we want to call a group of mediums, actually, because I don't think there is an official. I don't know who you are, Facebook user, but a platformer. Oh, that sounds fancy. I like that. But yeah, a discourse, a circle, a platformer. That whoever you are, let us know, obviously, who suggested that, because you need credit. But yeah, the whole point of the round table, yes, indeed, the whole purpose of Camelot was showing equality and unity in that equality. So, a discourse does the same thing. Actually, it shows a conversation.
Yes.
And all are equal in that. Tony says cloud. Hello, Eunice. Tony says cloud, a cloud of mediums.
Okay. Okay. Daniel Carlton says, that's what I'd say, a circle. If you go to a medium, you go to a circle. And Anne-Marie Corver said, if there's no answer to the question of what a group of mediums is called, what's about meeting of minds?
A meeting of mediums. Yes, absolutely. Exactly. And everyone's view, including and especially, Tim's and ours, is all based around unity and equality. So it just shows that everyone's on the same page. And I apologize for assuming that it was a joke, but it could very well be the opener to a great
It was
gag.
leading to a ba-bum, wasn't it?
Yes, it does. And I think, actually, in fairness, it still is a ba-bum, because it's a really interesting thought that we've never put together. Not that I've ever heard anyway. I'm sure the conversation has gone on elsewhere, and that topic has been discussed.
No doubt.
But nothing that's ever really, really caught on. So it's a really, really, we talk about all of these wonderful spiritual things and all of these wonderful goings on, and yet you're stumped by a question that is just so simple.
Yeah.
Isn't that life, though?
Yeah. There's a group of mediums sat in a church. What are they called?
Absolutely. And the answer is not nutcases like some people would say in this world. But yeah, really good question.
Nutters.
Although, to be fair, I am nuts. It's just nothing to do with my spirituality. But yeah, really, really good. Now I'm confirmed that it is a serious question. It is a really, really good one, because we just we don't tend to deal with the business end of stuff enough. Do you think?
No. We seem to get hung up on the doing the job rather than the
thinking about the basics.
Yeah, the admin side of it, if you like.
Yeah.
Suzanne Symes has just said, how about a middle riddle?
A middle riddle of mediums. Cool, my God. I think that certain mediums from history would struggle with that if they've had a few gins. But yeah, a middle riddle of mediums. That does roll off the tongue somewhat.
It does, yeah.
New comment. A medium of mediums.
A medium of medium. Yeah. Jane Goldthorpe says, talented, gifted people. Bless her.
Oh,
bless her.
Oh, bless you. I know the feeling, mate. A lot of what I say is perceived or passed off as a joke. Yeah, you have my sympathies, my friend. I know what you mean. But no, really, really good. What a wonderful way to start us back. What perceived as could be a simple question.
Yeah, and Dornies is a bit, I can't even pronounce that.
Egregore. Egregore is
a group of
a group of minds or a collective consciousness. And in actual fact, that then was extended into Wicca and witchcraft as an etherical. This is really, we really are going off on a tangent. Remind me, we've got to say hello to everybody in a minute. An etherical egregore is actually used in, high magic beliefs as creating a a being out of energy to do a specific task as well. So there are crossovers into different ways of life. But having spent 5 years as a teenager as part of the local coven, you tend to learn things like that.
Interesting.
So yeah, wonderful. Well, what a great way to start series 2. For those that are joining us late, we decided to call it series 2 because we've had a season break, rather than just a break. It was a season break. It sounds better.
Yes.
And new title sequence with a little bit of a giggle in it, plus ways of keeping in touch as well. So it's it's not only pretty, it's also useful, which is something that's never been. Well, I was going to say it's something that's never been used to describe me, but but there you go.
Oh dear.
But shall we say thank you for that, Tim? That's a really great way to start back. It's one worthy of more discussion and thought, I should say. But let's say hello, because she was there before we were. Good morning to Dawny, who's glad to have us back. We're glad to have you back.
Yeah, Nick, hi.
Hi, and Christine Davis is joining us.
Daryl, good afternoon to you as well, sir.
And I'm actually just jumping back to him a second. I'm not very happy with him because it sounds from the message he sent me briefly that I didn't get a chance to read properly that he's already received his Blu-ray of the Babylon 5 animated new show that's not released until the 15th. And I won't be able to see mine until the 15th because I've got the digital version. So they've already posted everything, so people are receiving them before the official date, which is great. I just wished I'd have thought of that rather than going for the digital download. So enjoy. Hello to Cherry Ann. Good to see you again. And we've got some Facebook users. I'm wondering if that's Carol. If it is, say, just let me know. Nice to see you back too, darling. And yes, indeed. For those that don't know, Reverend Allen is extremely poorly at the moment and in hospital. Please send him your healing thoughts.
Yes, please. Please do. Lovely gentleman.
And Stace. Hello, Stace.
How are you, my darling?
And
Eunice. Missed you too, Eunice.
Absolutely. Now, we have technically said hello, but let's give him a proper hello. Mr. Tim, good to see you, my friend.
Yes. Yes, Tim.
Yes, Tim. Yes, Tim. Hello to all the Facebook users and to Ron Patrick.
Yes. Oh, Linda, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I really enjoyed it. It was a lovely evening and nice to see all you people in Littleport.
And I've just been told it was Mum. She's obviously got her connection fixed because it's now saying who she is. Lovely. Good to see you, Mother.
And over on my feed, we've got Kaza, we've got Jason, Suzanne Symes. Hi, guys. Jane Goldthorpe, Anne-Marie Corver, Daniel, Anya Jane, who is my niece, Jenny Whitmore. Hi, everybody. I think that's everybody over on there. Anne Claydon and Alison Alcorn. Hi, we're fine here, thank you.
Hello, and hello to everybody. And if you haven't commented and said hello, because you just want to sit in the background and just have a listen, that's fine too. Hello to you too. Hello to everyone. And I know Mum's going to have to dash at some point because she's due a very special visitor, because the other half has left the house to myself and gone shopping and is going to go and see Mum. So I know she'll be dashing off at some point. Just remember, Mother, I will know when it happens because my phone will flash when he rings the doorbell. So I'll know you're dashing off.
Suzanne's just said Alan Sutton ill ? Yes, it's Alan that's ill.
Yeah,
it is. And Jackie Arden, hi there, with face emoji with the hearts on it, praying hands and a big purple heart. Love it.
Absolutely. Well, my friends, this is your debate, your discussion, your thoughts that we talk about. So please be sharing your thoughts and questions, just like Tim did, which I'm sure we will dip back into, actually, because that is worthy of debate. Daryl, no, I'll be good boy and wait, but thank you. You watch it and don't you dare give me any spoilers. Mum's saying, no, I'm not going anywhere. She's going to stay and he's going to have to watch it. You got a visitor coming round. It's polite to actually pay attention to them, you know.
Yeah, and Facebook users, should the hair be purple to match the shirt? The hair was purple, and then it's washed to this like
it's washing out, washing out, washing
and it's
out.
supposed to be professional quality stuff.
Yeah. Isn't that always the way, though? Isn't that always the way? But yes, if you've got your questions, please do be sharing them. I'm interested. You know, Tim's question actually raises an awful lot more of a deeper, perhaps concern is a bit steep, but I'm struggling to think of a more appropriate word. If we haven't thought about basic stuff like that, what else have we missed?
Exactly. And doesn't this bring you, like we said, back to the fundamentals of church, which is we should be building on solid foundations.
Yes.
You know, so yes. Oh, Tim's been cheeky.
If I can be cheeky and ask one more question, of course you can. Firstly, can I say I love Tony's hair color? Absolutely. But with that in mind, how much is a medium allowing their personality to be a part of this in the corner, their mediumship whilst demonstrating? So, how much is a medium allowing their personality to be part of this? And in the corner their mediumship whilst demonstrating. So what is the balance? How much do mediums allow themselves to be themselves whilst working? Do they, you know, push themselves to the fore and push the mediumship back? Do they push the mediumship forward, restrict themselves and be something different? And that's I think it's going to be different for everyone, isn't it?
It is.
Bit of a clarification, thank you, because my ability to read is restricted today, mate. Sorry, that came out all wrong. How much should a medium allow their personality to be involved with their mediumship whilst demonstrating? That's a question for everyone. Your thoughts matter. Your opinions definitely matter.
It is. So I know how Nick will feel about this as well. I've got a pretty good feeling, but it will be interesting from your perspective in the audience, congregation, whatever, in terms of if you were going to see a medium, how much of them do you want to see as opposed to the mediumship? Interesting, because I sort of feel that by restricting self, I'm doing a disservice, because you should be able to be your full self and give your full self. And it's, but again, I've seen that as well, where I've actually seen it done in drag.
Wow.
Which was a bit fine line between a drag persona and a Daniel says, just to pick up his point while I can see it on the screen, you should be yourself and allow the other side to come through on their own accord. And I would clarify that, Daniel, and say that as long as you're not pushing your personality onto the message, that's important. Because if I'm bright, colourful, flouncy camp, and a gentleman comes through who isn't, I will always bring that personality through. I won't push the camp onto it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I'm just trying to be very careful that I'm getting it right, because that would be disrespectful to spirit. That would be very disrespectful to spirit. And I think that's the whole thing. The person I saw do it in drag, or reported to me as well, has been done in drag, was it was a drag show with messages chucked in, which isn't what it was to be. But yeah.
We've got. I've starred 4
yeah, I was
comments
going to say I
already
can
because
see loads.
I want to come back to
my
all of
side
them
as well. So
and you're absolutely right. What are the ones on your side? Shall I give my opinion first and then
go
see
on.
if we're on the same page? Because you're absolutely right. I totally agree, and I can see everyone is agreeing too. People, look, spirit know that the best way to get people interested in this way of life, to get the message across, because that's the crux of it. We need to encourage people to be open to this way of life. Spirit know that the best way is to make use of personality, and to say that every medium should, shutter their personality would be a mistake, because it's through those different personalities that people will engage with that individual as a medium. So they'd be more interested in seeing one type of medium work than another, for example. But also, if we're drones, it's not engaging. And I'm trying carefully to avoid that word entertaining, because I hate that word. Because of the entertainment purposes only TV regulation. But for entertainment, it must be entertaining, or at the very least engaging. And you can only do that with personality. And it is through individual personality that we gain greater aspects of spiritual contact. For example, someone who is very softer, someone who is more gentler, someone who is very careful will portray a message in a very certain way. So they will be used to give more messages like that. Whereas somebody who needs enough uplift would get someone who's got a bit of a wit and a bit of a fun time about them. So everyone that I've seen so far is saying one word that really matters: balance.
Yes.
Balance is essential to not suppress. Sometimes you have to pull it back a little bit, as you were saying, and I do too. But if you think about all of the known mediums throughout history, they were known for their mediumship, but they were also known for their personality. And I think it is essential that at the very least, an equal measure of personality and evidence come through. Yes, you've got to be careful. Like, for instance, I sometimes reflect the personality of the person coming through, so that will kind of take over. But then the bits in between, you'll know it's me, because I'm back to going off on one and cracking jokes. It's really, really important that there is a balance. But I would say that to suggest, and there have been people to me in the past, suggest that there should be no personality in it at all, is a huge mistake, and would do a great disservice to not only this way of life, it would be a huge disservice to the world of spirit and this work, because we are encouraged by spirit to be ourselves. So how can we actually demonstrate on behalf of spirit if we're breaking their number one rule?
What you said. Exactly. Exactly. And you're right. Everybody sort of says the same things. I mean, on my feed, Suzanne says, always thought it goes hand in hand. You should be yourself. How could you not be? Absolutely, be natural. Yep. Anne-Marie Corver says, spirit work with mediums in the way that the medium feels comfortable and spirit feels comfortable. Yeah. This Anne Edgar Claydon says, I think the personality of the medium is key. Mediums don't pretend to be anybody else. When spirit comes through, a medium tells it as it is. And yes, sometimes you have to tweak what they're saying.
Absolutely.
Anne-Marie, Suzanne Symes, just says, in all the time she's seen me doing my mediumship online, I've just been myself. Yep.
Yeah.
Lauren Gregory says, I should imagine it's a skill in itself. I think empathy is a huge part, and the ability to get a message across. Loads and loads just saying, yeah. Oh, and Daniel's asked a question. I'll put it in the chat.
Lovely. Yes.
Some others, yeah.
And so Tim says, it is my opinion that the spirit world love us as who we are, and therefore we don't need to disguise who we are. However, we do need to be respectful and in some cases relevant within our mediumship. Absolutely agree. Dawny says, I would want the medium to be themselves and portray the spirit in the way necessary rather than be fake and a broom up the Christmas blooper reel moment. Eunice, again, agree with this. They go hand in hand, but are respectful to spirit. Stay says, if you bring forward the personality of spirit, that is more important for evidence, but the medium, I feel, should show their own compassion, empathetic, and within reason, a sense of humor. Facebook user, is the message about people and how they is the message about people and how it affects them. I think all messages should be followed up with, does the message have to have entertainment in it? I don't think it needs to have it in it, but I think it needs to be entertaining, as in engaging, uplifting. There's a fine line between entertainment, as in for entertainment's sake, and then going to being entertaining for its own sake. I always struggled when that first came out and did some digging on it. It is a rule set down by Ofcom for television and advertising, but when it comes to religious practices, is not required. But we still have to be very careful with some of the things we say and proclaim. Of course we do, but to say that my spiritual practice or your spiritual practice, our spiritual practice, should be for entertainment purposes only is a step too far. But then on the flip side of that, it should be uplifting and engaging and, you know, draw people. There's nothing worse than sitting there and watching someone work and they are talking like this and it is robotic and there is no personality coming through because they don't want to overtake the work by being themselves. And the next thing you see is everyone falling asleep or shuffling in the seats and switching off and rustling the papers. And you know that we must engage people, and personality engages people. I believe to say mediumship is for entertainment purposes only is now redundant because of the computer protection regime. Yes. Now, Tim, I did do some digging, as you say. That was actually the entertainment purposes only. Originally, you're quite right, did start out as an attachment to the Fraudulent Mediums Act, which replaced the Witchcraft Act. And so it is in law redundant. You're absolutely right. However, it has been adopted by Ofcom, who regulate all televisual feasts. Anyone who's seen Faulty Towers will know what I'm talking about there. It is required when relating to all televisual feasts or any TV or radio advertising, but they do maintain that the legal requirement regarding religion is still, you know, applies. But what I'd like to back up with that, which is really, really important, when I was working with Lynn, she wrote to the Home Office about the consumer protection regulation because this was all happening at the time. And the response that came back from the Home Office was, the United Kingdom government does not legislate on matters of conscience of which religion applies. So, you know, I still see people using for entertainment purposes only as a tagline in their work as a medium, because it probably applies to the advertising bit. But I'm with you. I think it's absolutely redundant. I think it, personally speaking, I think it was always redundant in spiritual terms, legally so, as part of legislation. Yeah, I thought that. I thought that. But yeah, I think it's important to recognize that when it comes to our work, we should be uplifting and engaging. But you're absolutely right on the consumer protection regulations. It's more about business than it is religion, and quite rightly so. But yeah, so I'm ranting now. Slap me one, please. But yeah, that tagline was part of the Fraudulent Mediums Act, right at the bottom of the page. Now it's gone, but Ofcom still use it, and they use it for TV programs where that then means they're right. This is important. They use it on TV programs because it means they're legally allowed to fake stuff. That's why it's there.
Yeah. Like strings on the corner of chairs so they can pull them and make them spin.
Yeah, which is another reason why I don't like using it and never did.
No.
But yeah, it's part of Ofcom legislation, Ofcom regulations, not legislation. Sorry, it's part of Ofcom regulations, but it's not part of legislation. But you'll still see people using it, like Billy-O.
Yeah. Just a quick hello to John Parry, who's on my page and just commented saying hello. And
Hello,
Suzanne
John.
Symes, I think going back to the robotic voice talking like this, like call center people that can only read from the script instead of letting a conversation happen.
Yes, and mediumship is a conversation. It is a conversation. You're absolutely right. Hello to Joanne Lewis. Hello, darling. And also, I did give him a quick wave, but I will also say, listening for the first time, the lovely Noel Dorrington from Dublin. Good to see you. I will be giving you a shout over the weekend, but it's a bit tight time-wise at the moment. But I do need to speak to you, young man. So yes, there you have it.
Yes. I think we're about up to date with, apart from a couple of loving the hair colours from Pam Duffy and a few other people. And Claire Lilliker's just put, I'm back. I had to nip off and do some work. Work, damn inconvenient when you're trying to watch.
Gets in the way,
How
doesn't
rude.
it?
How rude. Just to pick up on the Facebook user, Christian Bits, Love, Compassion and Forgiveness, it's because our side of spiritualism is more of a, as well as the tenets of spiritualism, we follow the teachings of Christ Jesus as well.
My mate Joshua Carpenter, for those that don't know what I mean. And it's we are Christian spiritualists in our personal practice, but that doesn't mean to say that we exclude or have no interest in other forms or versions of spiritualism, because they're all part of the great whole. What our belief is that we can make good use of other ways of life and working in order to be able to do just that, grow and evolve our understanding. And so that's why we use the Christian side as well.
Yeah. And it's also because we never stop learning about anything. And I think to narrow your field by trying to shut out other aspects of faiths is doing a disservice to the world of spirit, I feel.
I agree. I've always been very vehemently adamant that all religions start out as a means for spirit to contact us and help us and give us direction. It's us humans that hang stuff like a Christmas tree onto it, like the baubles and the tinsel. We humans add the you must do this, you must not do that. Everything outside of common sense and politeness and decency are absolutely human add-ons. Christianity has got a hugely demonstrated history of that. But then, to be fair, all walks of life and all ways of life have gone through that same transition. In the last 200 years, humans have had quite a heavy input on, what spiritualism is. Going back to our first question, forgetting to conclude right at the beginning what a group of mediums could be called. We missed that bit, but we then have groups and individuals who say, you must say this, you must do this, you mustn't do this, you must do that. Yes, there's going to be some of that, but if you look at a rule and say common sense, then it's quite likely supposed to be there. If it's but why, learn about it, understand it, read up about it, get to the bottom of why, because quite often it's going to be a regional, a cultural, or even worse scale human attribute that's hung to it. And if we can understand the core message in every way of life from its origins, then that was absolutely part of the picture that we're trying to build up as spiritualists. Joanne has just said, yes, it was Jesus that inspired me to become a healer. He was most known for to me, but I do now recognize that the ascended masters. Tim says there are many branches of spiritualism, but they all have one thing in common. You acknowledge the reality of the spirit world. I believe that we are all spiritualists is more important than whatever title or badge we wear. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that.
And
yes.
Daniel has just said, the good thing with you, originally said hugs, then clarified guys. The good thing with you guys is you don't push Christianity onto us. You bring us together as one, even though most of us are polar opposites.
Oh, bless. Well, that's the job of spiritualism, isn't it? It really is. Yeah. It ties into what Daniel's just said. It ties into what Joanne just said. It ties into what Tim has just said. In actual fact, it ties in with the whole conversation where Eunice, I started for a reason so I could mention the names. Eunice and Dawny and Stace all said about how we perceive what would be a group of, mediums. It is about that inclusiveness and that bringing things together. And I don't believe, as much as I want to learn as much as I possibly can, I'll never know everything. There's so much I still don't know and want to know. But the minute we start pushing our version onto everyone, we're defeating the object, because it is a personal relationship with spirit. We can share each other ideas and thoughts. But additionally to that, we can learn from each other, and build up our own inner image. Tim's just tomorrow I journey to the college to teach on trance healing course. I'm sure during the week I will give reference to Jesus, just like Gordon Higginson himself did once in quite a witty way in the Arthur Findlay College. He was do you know what? I think it might have been trance that he was teaching there as well. I'm coming to that one, Stace. I like that. For more than one reason. He was talking about, forgiveness and acceptance. And he was talking about how Judas kissed Jesus on the cheek. And he says, Jesus knew what was coming. He was aware of what was coming. And when Judas came and kissed him on the cheek, he could have said, no, get away, don't kiss me. But he let him, because he forgave him. And that's just Gordon through and through. His sense of humor. Once again, tying back to the first question, Gordon's sense of humor in his own way working, but also referencing other ways of life. Stace has just chipped in with, well, trainees are called fledglings, so why not geldings? I like it. However, fledglings has become a bit of a contentious phrase. I just got used to it, and this is once again about personal development. I was just acceptant of the word fledglings, because I perceived it as being sitting on a ledge and taking a leap of faith. But there are some that really, really struggle with that word, which I didn't even know, but I've learned through doing stuff like this. But I think that sums it up. Thank you, Eunice. Does it
Yes.
really matter? Titles and boxes again. We all know in our own way. And I think that is awesome. Joanne says, you okay being with who you are, with thoughts of peace, love and harmony and oneness, all welcome to spirituality. Absolutely. As much as there are different views and different opinions, I see the way the conversations go on a Friday afternoon is something really quite wonderful. It is respectful, it's sympathetic, it's understanding. It's still a good conversation without any difficulties or struggles or argumentativeness. No one gets offended or upset. And I think that's really, really important because we all recognize this, excuse my French, screw labels. That's all you can say, really. Screw labels. We are who we are. Even that being that was described as God at the beginning said, I am that I am. Spooky and proud. Absolutely. Oh, Kazza's going to be in the house with that one. So yeah, at the end of the day, we are who we are, and we all are part of a great tapestry of life. And it's really important to just think what matters. Yeah, like Eunice said, what matters, a title, a word, or a label, or the job we're actually doing. Again, jumping into my Christian phraseology, by their fruits you will know them. And I know I'm known as quite a bit of a fruit. I used to be called a pilgrim when I was in my development course at the beginning of my journey. I like that.
I like that a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah, and Suzanne Symes has just chipped in on my page with individuality within a group.
Yes, absolutely.
And what does it say on our tagline? Unity
through individuality. There was a reason that had to be on there this week, wasn't it? It was actually probably more hotly debated than the actual name of the organization when we founded it. What is the tagline? What is going to say what we want, what we're here for? And unity through individuality is the core of it, really.
It was why we are who we are as an organization, was because we believed in unity through being an individual. And I'm not going to be able to read Tim's comment out without singing it.
Yeah.
I need a feather boa and like 9-inch stilettos to do that one.
But we certainly, none of us need no excuses.
No,
absolutely.
But Tim, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would just say, just be proud of who you are and be proud of your journey. Be you a pilgrim, a fledgling, a trainee, or whatever. I mean, if we think about it through what we've just been talking about, Nick, when do we ever stop being a pilgrim, a fledgling, a trainee? Because I would never feel confident in saying I'm a professional medium and I know everything there is to know, and I'm jazz hands and look at me, aren't I wonderful? No, I will always feel like I am learning through Spirit and learning through Christ, because I will never be arrogant enough to say I'm at the end of my journey. And when they nail down the lid and shove me into the crematorium, I think then I might be a bit, I think I'm done. I'm done.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I love this. I remember I was a young boy going to Spiritualist church. The chairperson would always refer to the medium as brother or sister. Maggie, it should be a family. I think it should be a family of mediums.
Hoorah!
Hurrah for that. Yeah, family. Well, we do talk about the kinship of the human family, or brotherhood of the brotherhood of humanity, the brotherhood of man, or the kinship of the human family, as we call it in the ISA. Same difference, just genderless. I think it's awesome.
Wow.
Really. Oh, you got something to share.
Oh gosh, yes, I have.
Bring it on, Reverend Brother. See what I did there,
Daniel. Again, here we are. Tony, do you think your fatherhood journey was harder than your spiritual journey?
Ooh.
I've learned as much about myself in both aspects, to be fair, because being a father comes with so many responsibilities I didn't see coming at all. However, my spiritual journey has come with a lot of responsibilities as well that I didn't expect to feel.
Yeah.
And things I'm responsible for that I didn't feel I was aware that I would be responsible for. However, both are hugely rewarding, absolutely hugely rewarding, but in very, very different ways. And I think one's informed the other all the way through. It's really strange as a medium and as a spiritualist and as a minister, how when you've gone through life, I think, oh, literally, God, why have you thrown this at me? Because I can't handle this. This is way beyond anything I'm prepared for. And now, as a father, as a minister, as a spiritualist, Ben or a congregant or somebody will come to me and say, this has happened in my life and I don't know what to do. And I think that's why I had to learn that lesson.
Yes.
So that I have the tools and the armor to say to Ben, my son, or whoever, look, I know it feels like crud right now, but it will become easier.
Yes.
There. And I think that, and it's not, it's just, it's bless him, he's so sweet. He's just put, sorry, is that a bit too forward a question? Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
And it actually really ties in with everything that we've been saying about finding that balance. And just briefly, quickly, hello, Laurie. Bless your heart.
Oh, bless
Once
you.
again, that is a role of pastoral care over the people that you're working with, and ministry is about being, someone who has responsibility to help others. So you're right, the parallels are absolutely there. Dawny says, thought I'd clicked it there, didn't. We only get thrown the things we can handle to make us stronger, not to break us. And life is about experience, and we couldn't do what we do to help understand what it is that we're talking about if we hadn't experienced at least something half similar. I do know a joke about the use of the word father in ministry. It just ties the parallels that it's something that's been thought of before, but in a different way. So I'm going to tell a joke now, and I apologize in advance. There was a Catholic father, a father on a train in a journey, and there was this bloke sitting opposite him, and he says, "Well, you got your collar on back to front." Well, you got your collar on back to front, he says. And the Catholic priest says, "I'm a father." He says, the bloke says, "Well, I'm a dad. I don't have to wear my collar on back to front." And he says, "No, you misunderstand me, my child. I am a father of many." And the bloke says, well, my cousin Dave's got 7 kids and he don't wear his collar on back to front." And the minister says, "No, you misunderstand me. I'm a father to hundreds." And the bloke sits there. "I've just figured out what's wrong, mate." And he says, "Oh, what do you mean?" He says, "It's not your collar you need to be wearing back to front."
Yeah.
But it is that pastoral role. It is that, guidance and help. And, one of the most important things that I think, and obviously I'm not a parent unless you count the bunnies downstairs, but one of the things that I've noticed in relationships that I've witnessed grow and develop, that when I've known people for a prolonged amount of time, the most important role of a dad, and I certainly learned this from mine, is knowing when to step back and let people live their life without mollycoddling, overruling, or strongly guiding with no choice. And I think that is why it's a useful analogy when people, and I think that's the missed point of the analogy, or if Sherry Ann's watching, the paradigm as to why people use the phrase father when relating to God, is that it's that knowledge, is that knowledge of stepping back and allowing us to live our own life. And people have their choices to be spiritual or unspiritual. People have their choices to be religious or not religious. And that stepping back and allowing people that latitude to exist the way they believe is right is part of that process of stepping back and letting it be. People have their own experiences, their own life, their own situations within the role of being a parent, within the role of being a minister, within the role of being a human being. And each of those choices, actions, and situations lead us to a position where we make up our own minds. And I strongly believe, as a minister, so this is for the benefit of Luigi, I strongly believe that I don't have the right to tell you to be religious or spiritual. I can be here if you decide that that's a part of your life you want to explore. But I can't give you proof of God, because when that sound comes knocking, you'll know what that sound is, and you certainly don't need me for that. I'm here for when people have their own experiences and to help them rationalize and understand it for their own. And I don't believe that I have the right to tell people what they should believe, either or. And it's really important to, remember, as spiritualists, we should not be doing the one thing that we hate the most about other religions that have done to spiritualism in the past. And that's, try and force it upon people. If people want it, that's great. If they don't, leave them be, let them live their lives. I would never, try and force it onto people.
No,
we're here to have a conversation that people want to join in on. That's the best part of today.
Absolutely. And I would say we have people on this feed from all walks of life, atheists, Christian, from everywhere. And as a minister, our job is to facilitate that relationship when you're ready for it. It's not to bang a drum and say, come on, convert and let's be, teaching you how to be. That's not our job at all. It's to sit there and say, when you're ready for that conversation, we'll have it. And when you want to know God and Christ and Spirit, absolutely, come on, we can help you do that, but not to force your hand and to prove to you that our way is right, because that's not what we're here for at all. And if I ever thought it was, I would take this off and throw it away, because what I'm interested in at all, it's your relationship with God and your relationship with Christ and Spirit, nothing to do with anybody else. And if I was to sit here and say, to talk to God, you must kneel down, you must put your hands together, and you must say these words, absolutely not. That's not what we're here for. And I get quite irate that people want that type of power and authority over somebody, because it's not what it's about at all. It's about, once you've found your path, we can help you clear the bushes back and make it look nice and pretty for you and make it comfortable for you, but you've got to find that path on your own. And like Nick said, when that little voice comes within you and you think, hang on, what's this? You know what it is. You know when you've been touched. And I did. And it took me a few times to come back to faith, because it's something I had strongly when I was younger, and it went. And just that actually flips to a comment that Paul made earlier about not being welcome at certain churches because you were gay.
Yes.
And that really shook me, because I thought, how can my God think of me as less than because of who I have fallen in love with? And it's that was wrong. And it's something I have said to people before. Do you feel like your God, and I'm very careful how I choose the words, do you feel your version of God that you know and you love loves you any less because of these things that you say you've done or encountered in your life? Or and it, it just, the answer 99.99999 times out of 10 is no. God doesn't love me any less because of these things, and that's what we are here for. That's what we're here for, and that is very bizarre.
Yeah, I apologize to everyone. I've done something that takes an awful lot. I've removed those comments because that's called baiting. We can pander to. We gave as a group, and thank you everyone for your comments. We gave as a group an explanation as to why we're here. There was no ever any thought as to whether there was going to be any polite conversation. And I won't. I don't care. I'll stand and have a conversation the whole time, but I'm not having people see that sort of stuff. It's
no.
About.
No,
it takes a lot to push me to that. Yeah, that takes a lot to push me to that. But I will do it for the benefit of those watching.
It's something we've always said. All are welcome to watch our feeds as long as you are courteous, respectful, and open to having a conversation. And that person was clearly not prepared to have a conversation at all. So, yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Bless them.
But there we go. Dawny Foley. Hello, darling. Dawn is our medium on Thursday coming. Hello, Dawn, my lovely. Dawn's coming to Littleport, and we look very much forward to seeing you. You've just made the comment. Well, you know what you've commented. I'll say for everybody else. When you're helping those that need help, it's the spirit within you that connects soul to soul experience, and your database is used to benefit and uplift your brothers and sisters' souls. Amen. Thank you.
Yeah. And John Parry's just commented on my feed saying, you help people progress by leading them by the hand, not dragging them by the scruff of the neck.
Yes, and or making derogatory sexual comments, because that gets you banned.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
It's been proved.
Yeah, lovely. John, you don't even have to lead them by the hand sometimes, my friend. You can just walk beside them. And give a few encouraging words.
Here's one for you. I'd like your opinion on this, because this is something that was hotly debated, of all things, at a managers meeting for BP when I was, still working for a living, I suppose you could call it. This is just too much fun to be called work. There is an old adage of obviously lead by example. So you lead from the front, and then someone said, no, you lead from the back, because then you can keep those that are falling behind pushing forward. And someone else said, no, you lead from the middle, because you can keep a rein on those that are getting too far ahead, and you can pull, those from behind. You can help them keep pace. So the question would be, are any of those right? If so, which one? If not, what would another alternative be? You've just given one, for example, by the side, together.
There are different schools of management, aren't there? There's leadership, there's followership. So I suppose it very much depends. And I'm going to sort of do the old psychology thing of be very sort of blah about it all, because I think it very much depends on who you're managing or what you're dealing with, because sometimes there is a need for direct leadership where it's like, this is the path you need, and we'll try this path, and then I will take you down another path. Then yes, Stacey, lead from the side because you're there to support. But it very much depends, and it's very much about taking people on a journey with you, however it is that they need you to enable them to travel that path. Is my look at it, because all the time I was dealing with management and management theories and trying to herd civil servants, which is horrendous and should never be tried. It's no one theory is enough for everybody. So yeah, just be there. You'll be shown who needs your help. Bravo, Eunice. That was the convoluted way. That was my convoluted way of saying just that. Spirit will always show you who needs that help and how they will need to be helped. And sometimes you can try 3 or 4 different things. Yeah. And maybe some people will need 5 or 6 or 7 or 700 different ways of they'll disappear, they'll come back, they'll disappear, they'll come back. And yeah.
Yes, I do apologize. I've just been checking something out, and I made a right choice there. Tim's comment, yes, like a spiritual army, we need captains to lead from the front, but we also need soldiers to carry the word of spirit. Interesting way of putting that. Yeah.
I was going to burst into song again then. Onward, Christian soldiers.
Yes. Well, I'm sure that's kind of like the original thought behind it.
Yeah, it's carrying the word on, and yeah, it depends on the group and their emotional needs. It very much does, and you can. I do find though there are times when you've got to take a step back as a minister, as a spiritual, as a person, and say, I've tried.
Yes,
I've tried, yes. and done my best, went all out, but you just need to take a break and take a breath. Stacey, you do that all the time with me. Yeah, bless you.
Yeah.
Emma Bailey Palmer has just put, I believe it's like wolves. You have 3 leaders and they do all 3 positions. Yes, I've seen that, Emma, where in a pack of wolves, when they're going across, when they're off on the journeys, you've got the alpha at the front, then there's another ranking male in the middle, and then one at the back to keep all the stragglers in check. So yeah, I like that analogy. I do.
Yeah. I'm just going to come to Stacey's comment because I agree with this. I also see it slightly different. Stacey says in relation to Tim's comment, but that means there's a hierarchy and no one should be above anyone. Doesn't that feed ego? Right. I'm going to answer this on 2 sides because I've been doing a lot of thought about this lately. So for everyone who sits in circle with me, I apologize in advance because we have discussed the word ego until the cows have come home and gone back out of the shed again. and this is really important. Who is most important? Let's use that military analogy again for a second. Who is more important, the person who calls for the charge or the people that are doing the actual charge? It's about how you perceive. Yes, there's a person who stands there and blows the trumpet. Are they more important than the people that are giving the charge? Once again, it comes back to titles. So I see your point, and I don't like the idea of a hierarchy where people are more important than the other. I prefer to use the analogy that we used in Circle the other day of a machine. Every cog has its role, and when you take that cog out, that role is lost, and everyone does something slightly different. There's that one person who blows the trumpet and calls for the charge, but without them, there would be no unified charge. But if that person was on their own and blew the trumpet, nobody would charge. Yeah. So, you know, hierarchy is one way of putting it. I would say structure. And I used this word with Eunice last night, actually, which initially she got quite annoyed with me, as I expected she would. Structure doesn't mean strict. Structure means specific roles. And I believe that there should be people with specific roles and tasks, because we all suit a different part of the work. But the minute you take one of those roles out, or take one of those cogs out of the clock stops ticking. Where we get onto the subject of ego, I think we use that word a lot. I think we use it too much, because there must be some, and being a psychology student, I know you'll know where I'm going with this. There has to be an element of ego, because the ego literally means awareness of self. It doesn't mean way up there. It doesn't mean I'm important. It means we're all important. We have to be aware of ourselves. And I think it's vital that we are aware of ourselves. And I think it's vital that we all sit somewhere in a structure, using that position to help strengthen others, but also develop ourselves. There are no greater or lesser roles, because without every single cog, the machine doesn't work. So, absolutely, you know, I think we apply extremes to various different things. And obviously, yes, Joe said there is no greater or lesser. I completely agree with you. I feel that there's a difference between structure and hierarchy. Yes, there is, but the point also is that's how we perceive them. We use the term rank for the various captains leading the charge and then the soldiers pushing forward. It's just an analogy. I see that as a structure rather than a hierarchy, because, as I said, certainly within this way of life and within all spiritual ways of life, we all have our strengths, which we must play to. We all have our weaknesses, which we must develop. But we can be in the right place at the right time with others to bounce off each other, to make use of our strengths, to grow our weaknesses, which is why I prefer the word structure than hierarchy in that analogy, because I think it's important that we do recognize that we are all equal and that we are all united. And I think it's equally important that we grow each other and recognize that we've always got further to go. So I think we should be careful of going to extremes when we're describing things, because as I've already demonstrated, when you go to an extreme on here of good taste and decency, I do hit the button for you, not me. I didn't care. But you know, for you guys at home, I think that was out of order.
I've always said I'm big enough and ugly enough to take on a debate with anybody. It's other people that have an issue. Daniel's just made a very bad joke. I wish we could get it up on screen. He says, I had to give up Spirit. I couldn't cope with the headaches the morning after that. Jack Daniels is a bad one. Joke. I have my own spiritual calling, but I need to get myself back to 100%. Absolutely, my friend. That is a very, very important point, that to undertake a spiritual journey of any type, you really do need to be in the right mindset. However, just to clarify that, sometimes it can help
Yes.
to set off on a spiritual journey and just do some exploring, because as well as exploring spirituality as a whole, you do sometimes get some insight into self.
Yes.
As you're
do.
looking at these things. So don't dismiss it altogether, my friend. Just baby steps. Baby steps is what I would say.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And yeah, awareness of self is hugely vital in this way of life. I think we use fancy words way too much, and we should start calling things what they exactly are. So, like for instance, the difference between I'll give the difference between ego and being an idiot, a self-righteous, pompous idiot. Ego in itself is just self-awareness, and we definitely should be, but we certainly shouldn't be pompous and up yourself. So let's stop using words that mean various different things and call it out. Call it what it is. Call it rude or gentle. Call it ignorance or kindness. Call it, aggression and power mongering rather than ego, because then everybody gets it. One of the things that I used to love about spiritualism is that we used to call a spade a spade. Now we're going along the direction of calling it a digging implement. And I think we should just get back to basics and call things out for what they really are. And I am a git. I will be honest with you, because I used that word earlier on, paradigm, deliberately to remind myself. Cherry Ann, my darling, I was using that word in a conversation with the circle. It was why are you using that word? Why are you using paradigm? And it's true. I'm just as bad. I am terrible for using fancy words when I could really just keep it simple. Or as the old business allergy, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I think there is a risk that we don't keep things simple enough so that everyone, and it goes back to that, where do we lead the group from? If we give something that every member of the group can resonate with, there's another one of those words that we use an awful lot. If we do use stuff that everyone can sit with, I think it makes it more understandable for everybody. It's more inclusive, it's more equal, it's more gentle, and it gives everybody the opportunity to feel part of something that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree that we need to just keep it simple and keep it on the straight and narrow and allow things to be accessible to lots of people. And Daniel just says I could do with the self-finding bit. If you need anything, buddy, you know where we are.
Shout.
Yeah.
Shout.
Yep.
I'm actually, if you're interested, I'm actually going to be starting a new online open circle in the evenings now, in the not too distant. So if you're interested in that one, give us a shout, because I've been getting told off. So back to ego. Let us not forget the definition of ego is the I or the me. And when we come back to talking about personality with the mediumship, I guess there will always be a small spoonful of ego. Yes, you're absolutely right. But there is more than one definition of ego. And certainly the I or me, in psychological terms, it's awareness of self is the psychological definition. We use these words that once again can be taken and strengthened by various different schools of thought. None are right or wrong, just varied in their forcefulness of using it. And we have to have an awareness of self. We have to have, so there will always be a small spoonful. I think a small spoonful is appropriate. When you get the squirty can out and start spraying it all over the place, then you're in trouble. And unless it's Mr. Whippy, in which case it's fine, knock yourself out. But yeah, you're right. A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
It does. It does. Yes.
And this proves the point. Is it ego or self-satisfaction? That depends on the varying quantity. So in using, I like Tim's analogy there, using how many spoonfuls does it have to be before it gets to self-satisfaction? And can self-satisfaction be a bad thing in small quantities? You know, is it wrong to be a little bit proud of yourself for making an achievement? No. But when that satisfaction becomes a point of look at me, aren't I wonderful, and that becomes the priority, that's when you know that there's been a spoonful too many.
Yeah.
I'm just catching up on the comments because I've got way behind again.
I'm still trying. It's when people get the superiority Yeah, that's what Nick's saying. It's when it becomes the jazz hands showman, big sparkly coat, look at me, aren't I wonderful? That's when it gets a bit and uncomfortable to watch. Whereas if it's done with humility and respect and courtesy, then that's when it's important, and that's when there's nothing wrong with coming off a rostrum and feeling like you've done a good job.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. I've done it myself with Jean. We've come off and gone, wasn't that brilliant? I really enjoyed that. And I really felt like I did a good job for Spirit there.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. But when that striving for that high all of the time, that's when it starts to become a problem. And that's for me when what Spirit giveth, Spirit can taketh away.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's the same. It's the same with me, really. When because I take Mum with me to virtually every demo I do. Gets her at the house, stops her ringing me while I'm working as well. You know, I'll as we're on the way home, I'll always be questioning myself, and so that's when you can go backwards. And you can go backwards and have not enough of a spoonful. I'll be sitting there and saying, was that all right? Did I do all right? I hope I didn't let them down. Was that okay? And that then becomes obsessive and very self-destructive, and you then doubt yourself. You should always question yourself, but doubting yourself is something else. Every now and again, I'll get in the car and take a deep breath and go, I think I was happy with that. I think I was happy with that. I think I was comfortable. I think I did all right, didn't I? But most of the time, it's did I do enough? Could I have done that better? Should I have done that better? And whilst you should always question yourself, I think over egging the self-doubt is extremely destructive. So it is about, once again, that word we used right at the beginning, balance. And you know, I think everyone knows it. Well, I would like to hope that everyone in their own heart know truly whether they are a point of comfortable self-awareness as opposed to that self-awareness forsaking all else. But it's still a balancing act.
It is because I've done it myself, where you go through that phase of, oh, that was rubbish, that was dreadful, I didn't like that at all, and I wasn't good enough, and that becomes as toxic as the aren't I wonderful, aren't I fabulous, aren't you so glad? And Kaz has just put hit the nail on the head there, Nick. I'm speaking to someone who's all I love me, do you love me? And it's very tiring to listen to. I always doubt my drawings and mediumships and wish I didn't criticize myself too much. Kaza, I've seen some of your stuff online. You have nothing to worry about there, dear. Nothing to worry about.
It's awesome.
Fabulous.
In actual fact, Stace, I'm glad you're on, because I'm in the middle of working with her to potentially get her on with you on the Wednesday showcase. She's not quite comfortable to be ready at the moment. She's ready work-wise, but you know, wanting to have that strength of courage. But certainly her work is definitely good enough to go on the Wednesday showcase. And when she's comfortable and engaged in that sense of self-confidence that gives her the courage to do it, I will be bringing her on there. So there you go. Even the presenter of the showcase says your pictures are amazing, so you got nothing to worry about, Kazza, darling. Tim says, I recommend all mediums read the psychology theory known as the imposter syndrome. It's very healthy for mediums to embrace. Yes, I would actually agree completely.
Absolutely. It should be mandatory.
Yeah. But then is that structure or is that leadership?
Oh, that could be, that could be taking it too far the other way, dear.
Yeah, but it's certainly definitely recommended read it. It definitely is recommended reading to the point of here's a copy, go read it.
Yeah. It's a fascinating theory, actually. Fascinating theory.
Yeah, definitely. I made Reverend Barbara laugh with a psychology joke the other day, because there are numerous schools. The reason I mention this is because there are different. And here comes that school. There are different schools of thought within spirituality and spiritualism. And sometimes they can come across as quite competitive, certainly to the outsider who doesn't recognize a healthy debate or does recognize that the debate's becoming unhealthy, which, once again, various different extremes. But there are different schools of thought within psychology that are, to a psychologist, useful depending on each situation. For example, two very well-known schools of thought would be Freudian and Jungian. And although they are based on the same initializing principle, because let's face it, Jung was actually a student of Freud anyway.
He was, indeed.
He went off on his own and started thinking in different terms to Freud. And, it got me thinking, should we not think of spirituality as schools of thought as opposed to different directions? They are different schools of thought that can be useful in their own terms and in their own right in various different situations. For example, if someone is more understanding of a Christian situation, you could reach them with more Christian terminology. If someone's more Wiccan, you can reach them with more Wiccan terminology. If someone's more modern spiritualism, you can definitely reach them with, more modern spiritualist terms. And the same can be applied to the Freudian Jungian argument, because the joke I told was, the psychologist, well, it was actually Frasier. I nicked it from a TV show. No surprise there. Frasier sat there and said, when I was first developing as a psychologist, I was something of a Freudian. But as time has gone past, I've learned that I'm young at heart. And Barbara just absolutely lost it at that one. But it got me thinking, should we see those differences as schools of thought rather than camps?
Yes, I think so, because
I think it would help with unity.
It would. Tim's always, every time I see Tim's name go up, like, oh, what's he putting out?
Yeah. Let's bring him up. If you are an individual who prescribes to negative energy and all positive energy, and thought is energy, that positive energy is feeding and nurturing your own spirit. What is negative thought doing to
it? Meaty one. I would say like attracts like, and positive energy feeds, nurtures, like you say. It helps grow. It helps you with clarity of thought. I find that when I'm embroiled in negativity, that's all I get is negativity, and I get bogged down. My thought process is less clear. It's more muddied. I just find I've no energy if I'm focused on a negative thing. So it's a constant battle to try and keep the positivity going. That's just where I come from on it. I think like attracts like, and if you try and keep a positive spin on a situation, you will find your way through it a lot better than if you become embroiled and let the negativity take over.
Yes. Yeah. I go to you know, if we see positivity as a positive energy and negativity as a negative energy, we can apply that to light and darkness, because throughout history spirituality has done that anyway, so it's nothing new. If we attribute positivity to light and negativity, and you apply negativity to darkness, darkness is absence. Darkness is an absence, whereas light is a positive energy. So darkness would be a negative energy, i.e., an absence of something. Too much negativity, so too much absence, will then become a vacuum that tries to pull everything in. And a vacuum is cold, is dark, is absent, and is dangerous. It's easy to fix negativity because you put something into it, it becomes neutrality and then positivity again. Negativity being an absence, especially when it takes too much, pulls things out, and it drags, you know, it creates this vacuum effect that sucks literally the light out of things. So, you know, I always use that analogy because I think it's important. It's important that we recognize darkness in itself isn't substantive or a substance like light is. Light is substance. Darkness is absence. So it is very, you know, consuming, even though it's less than nothingness.
Yeah,
it's the opposite of you know. So I think we should always try and put a, because perfect example is that old story of the king who sent his sons off to, you know, buy something that fills the castle. He gave them all 50 coins and said, go and buy something. One of them brought home straw, but there wasn't enough. One of them brought home flowers, but there wasn't enough. One of them bought candles and put one candle in each room and filled the whole castle with light.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a little bit of show and tell there.
We like that. We like that.
And yet there is that there is that argument that darkness does make the light shine brighter. But then does it make it shine brighter, or does it have just more of a focus so you can see it more clearly? Whereas if you were completely surrounded by light, yeah, love it. But yeah, I think you know, we must remove that negativity.
Yeah. I mean, darkness, I suppose. Look at today. It's absolutely glorious here. It's not dark, but I can still see the sun shining. But I do think I agree, Stace. Anybody who's watched the film, oh gosh, what's it called? With all the little characters inside the girl's head. happiness and sadness and
oh yeah, I know what you mean, but I can't remember. Help us out in the comments, please.
But it nobody wants to be the happiness running around all the time, because without that there's got to be a bit of sadness in there as well. We're not saying that, but it is about the balance, and it's about the not allowing the darkness to consume inside out. Thank you, Daniel. That's it. But you can't. You've got to have that awareness and not allow the negativity to overwhelm you, because if you do, you start losing self, and you start losing the joy in life and the joy in everything, and you have to then work extra hard to get that little bit of something pleasure out of life again. So it's about not allowing all of that darkness and negativity to overwhelm. It's about tempering it and recognizing it for what it is. And like Nick said, stick a little candle in the room and just light it up a little bit.
Yeah.
An hour and a half.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
Yes, if we never have a rainy day, we can never appreciate the sun.
Absolutely. And that's life. And that is episode 1 of series 2.
I know.
Mental. Thank you, everyone. You know what? The comments today have, as ever, been so enjoyable and uplifting, and it's nice to have a really positive debate regarding everything, and everyone feeling comfortable with sharing their truth and their angle on that greater image that is life.
Some of it was a bit iffy, and we had to ban them from the comments.
Well, yeah,
sorry about that, guys.
It's not something I liked. I never like to ban anyone, but when it gets to that point, it's
this is the first time in all the time I've been doing online stuff, I've had to actually ban somebody. I've gone in afterwards and deleted the comments. When you get the spammers doing the, oh, come and do a read. I'm drawn to you. Give me £500 and I'll do your reading. I've been and taken them out before. They're just annoying. But that's the first time I've seen anything like that, and I hope we'll never see it again. Daniel says,
we certainly won't on this channel, because he's banned for life.
Thanks for another fantastic weekend starter, guys. And Karen White says, loves you both. And Lorraine Clark, who I believe you booked with Signs of the Afterlife, says, God bless you both.
Bless you all as well. And to everyone at home on this side of the feed. Sherry Ann, more than welcome. Lovely to see you all. It's been an absolute pleasure being back. Please. It's in the Dewberry. The Dewberry. This is when I get really back to basics. It's in the Dewberry. It's in the title sequence. Facebook.com/groups/Two Revs. Chat away, continue the debate. It's what it's there for. It's a facility to make use of, where we can all get together and have a good gossip. I'm assuming by this, Mum, Nigel isn't back yet, or you just have been listening and he's been sitting there getting annoyed being ignored. And yes, I have to come back to that. You're quite right, Stace. I love your positivity, Joanne, or anyone's positivity. It isn't always a choice, especially with certain types of mental illness, when biology can be catalysts for negative thoughts and behaviors. But yes, it's really, really important that we find some light in our life. So, I've been in a bit of a shadow today because I ran out of plugs, but I have got on an extension lead a little bit of light in the distance.
He is there. Your mum's just been ignoring him to watch the show.
Sorry, Nigel. But yeah, it is great. The positivity here is certainly wonderful. And you know what? If we go back to that analogy, he's gone to save the grapes. It's fell down. Oh dear, the grapevines fell down. Oopsie. I better go and have a look as well. But yeah, just organising my life.
Oh, Daniel, I see what you did there. Daniel loves a good mass debate, but he put it together.
Okay. I think I got in trouble for that once, so I'm going to move swiftly on. It's been an absolute pleasure to be discussing everything with everyone. Please do try and find a little bit of positivity. And as Stacey points out, there's bound to be some that can't. That's what we're all here to do, to light our candles in the hope of it shedding a little bit of light in someone else's life. So from me, be safe, be blessed, and be great. And from me, God bless and good night. And it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
And him and all. Good night. God bless. And for those that didn't see it at the beginning, here's the new title sequence.